How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is my official pre-draft Darryn Peterson scouting report. I've done a couple Peterson videos. I did one in his early season breakout and then one on a different game against Debansa. But this is my Darryn Peterson breakdown, and I'll be making the case for him as one of the greatest perimeter prospects I've ever seen at this level. And it starts with his driving and ability to score in the paint. Peterson, 6'5"-ish, incredible burst and handle, and he has some of the best touch I've ever seen from a player at this level with who has his athletic tools and size, I'll say, where he bumps AJ Debansa backwards, hops off 2 feet, hits a little floater with his right hand. But Peterson's touch extends beyond just basic little hop floaters, and you can see how slithery he is. This is a crazy shot. He's able to squeeze through this double team with like a hop step. He takes off from the free throw line, hangs in midair, and just teardrops that ball in for a bucket right there. Peterson has some of the best ambidextrous touch I've ever seen from a player at this level. He routinely puts in these lefty floaters, which you very rarely see players shoot floaters with their weak hands, but Peterson does this fairly often and does it really well. His handle and his touch blend to where if Peterson gets into the paint where they set a screen, 2 defenders go to Peterson, he blows by, he's going to hop off 2 feet and just little push shot from the middle of the floor. And if you're enjoying the Darryn Peterson clips so far, consider liking, subscribing, commenting on the video. All that stuff is so helpful for the algorithm, and I really appreciate all the support as always. And another Darryn Peterson lefty floater in transition. The forward momentum here is impressive. Like, Peterson will often hop on 2 feet to stop his momentum and then score. But here Peterson's just flowing forward, hits a lefty runner going into the paint. And his awesome handle means Peterson is a splitting machine. Guys will often double team Peterson or show 2 at the screen level to try to force the ball out of his hands. But if you're playing sloppy defense, Peterson has the handle and the slithery movement skill to just split defenses easily and score either right at the basket or just drop in a little floater. It's kind of crazy how well he toyed with AAU defenses where this is just bad screen coverage. But again, it's two defenders going to the ball. Peterson hesitates, dribbles through them, and then puts in a little floater that, again, just showcases incredible touch on his part. And Peterson's driving is so good, and his touch is so good that he can change speeds like, the best creating guards. We see him kind of hesitate, explode into the paint, hang in the air, and just finish. That's a crazy finish. Hanging between 2 defenders, scooping the ball in midair. Great behind the back there from Peterson to set up his drive. Spins, gonna hit this crazy shot. Peterson, we'll talk a little bit about some of his shot selection, which is a common issue for a lot of young initiators, but great spin move here to counter this defender does a good job cutting off, using this foot to cut off Peterson's drive to the right. So what does he do? Simply spins back to the left, hops off of 2 feet, hangs in midair, and finishes an incredible shot. Now, Peterson, I don't always love these finishing decisions, but he's so damn good that he can get away with it. And of course, Peterson is just good at getting to the rim and finishing easy. If you're going to switch against Darryn Peterson, right, they're hedging out right here to keep Peterson away from the rim, but now you have a big switched on to Darryn, and he's far too explosive to just have him guarded on an island by a big, and he's easily able to blow by defenders. Even incredibly quick players like AJ Debansa have very little hope against Peterson at times. Look at Peterson he says, "Get out. I am going to isolate against AJ Debansa," who is, when AJ's locked in, which is always a big if for him, he's a crazy point of attack defender. But Darryn, incredible first step, draws the foul right there, ends up getting free throws on that play. Here's him being guarded by Nate Ament, another top 5 player in the 2026 draft projected. Quick crossover, and you can see the acceleration, how quickly he gets up to speed. And of course, there's no rim protection back to stop Peterson from getting right into the paint. And his command of pace and ball control are so damn special for a player of his size and age, where he slows down, stares at the rim like he's going to take a pull-up jumper. This forces the defender to step up, and then Peterson explodes the basket, dunks over a poor defender. And these are my favorite Darryn Peterson plays of the entire cycle, where Peterson is using his change of direction and his slitheriness. There just aren't very many players I've ever watched who combine the kind of slithery, snaky movement, but also being sudden and explosive and being twitchy. Most guys have one or the other, but very few have both the way Peterson does. And some of these plays where he's just hanging in the air forever. Again, he takes off from outside the circle, hangs past the contesting defender, and finishes. Notice the pick and roll split at the beginning of that play as well. Oh my God, that's a goaltend right there, but disgusting hesitation move right there where Peterson's a dominant pull-up shooter, which we'll get to. This defender steps up to kind of take away the jumper when Peterson baits it, and then he just blows right by him and gets the goaltend. Probably would have gone in with that beautiful little lefty scoop pass. And Peterson just feels inevitable, even when teams throw double teams at him. We'll talk about this dynamic prep game where they lost in Chipotle. This is the best I've ever seen a team guard Darryn, was this dynamic prep game, but they're doubling him. He squeezes through right there, somehow manages to get to the rim, finishes a crazy, difficult lefty shot over a great contest with multiple players. Like, truly, truly bananas touch around the basket. That does fuel like primary creator upside. Again, he's easily able to blow by a pick and roll defender, hangs in the air, finishes with his left hand on the scoop. The touch is appointment television. He's a great closeout attacker too when he does do it. Because of his shooting threat, he can just get downhill against tilted defenses. He makes the game look so easy, which is a big heuristic I have for him. But Peterson has some issues as a finisher. He's not like a Debansa level athlete when it comes to explosiveness. And there are times where I don't love the shot selection. There's a pretty easy pass to the corner for a three right here. And Peterson just tries to lean out of bounds instead of, I do wish you would take on more contact, right? Take one more dribble, try to power up through this guy. Instead, he just goes in and gets blocked right there. So Peterson's not a perfect player, right? Even the elite of the elite prospects aren't like that, where this is a shot that Peterson can make, a hanging left-handed hook shot falling out of bounds, but it's not a high percentage look. And again, we see a kick out option that Peterson doesn't take right there. It makes sense, right? He's the high usage Helio primary on a high school team that relied on him significantly to create offense, and an AAU team. But that did mean he would settle for some tough shots. But this is something we see in basically every high usage high school creator. I've talked about this in so many videos that shot selection can improve and players will take these tough shots because that's kind of their only option. And at the next level at Kansas, where Darryn's going, he's going to have better teammates to throw to. But shout out Nate Ament, by the way, who defended Darryn Peterson 1v1 at the end of this game, as well as I've seen any player defend him. But, like, again, this is a very makeable shot. Great quick crossover, hop step in the lane. It's a pretty open floater for Peterson that he just doesn't end up converting because even for the best defenders, floaters are pretty tough. And here's a good example of Debansa playing great defense against Peterson. And, yeah, against, like, the best point of attack defenders athletically, Peterson does this great hesitation move, crosses over, but Debansa is one of the few guys who can flip his hips and explode laterally to contain Peterson, force him into a really difficult shot, a fading lefty floater once again, where that's a shot that Peterson will make, but it's not the best shot he can get, and he probably knows that. Peterson's able to capitalize on his driving, not just through his incredible touch, but also because of his playmaking, where Peterson is a phenomenal passer. Maybe not the level of like Luka or Trey or Jokic, but I'd say he's in the next tier of guys where he's really good at manipulating defenders in the air because he can hang in the air and finish. Look at him just kind of twisting in midair, and this freeze frame is crazy, knowing that the ball is going to go here. He's basically faking this defender out of the frame to drop the ball off for a wide open layup by using his ability to hang in the air and manipulate timing at the basket. His skill level translates to playmaking, where he can make live dribble passes with both hands. He's good at passing into tight windows as well. Whew, beautiful zip pass through this dynamic prep defense. This defender takes one step towards the roller, so Peterson just fires it in there for a pretty easy finish for his man. Power dribble into a layup right there. Peterson here working out of the post, and oh my goodness, again, hanging in midair, working against the baseline, but notices his man out of the corner of his eye, cutting to the basket, fires that pass through, and his teammates able to make a pretty difficult contested shot on that play. He's so good at live reading, where on a play like this, you have Winters Grady lifting to the three-point line, and Peterson's looking to score here normally. But This is a good freeze frame because it looks like this defender is squarely in the roller's path, right? But Peterson knows that he can just loft this ball into space for his big man, put it up high, and create him a wide open layup. That's a difficult play that Peterson is making pretty routinely on the ball. He's really difficult to pressure and blitz because of his handle, but also because of his incredible passing, like basic stuff like this. He backs out with the behind the back, evacuates the ball. Like so many of his passes, it's not like so flashy, but he's an excellent decision maker in these spots where sometimes he will definitely settle for tough shots, but he's very rarely turning the ball over on these kind of plays. And his turnover numbers on drives underscore that, where this is some research I did on prospects in the draft. Darryn Peterson here, third in the class of guys I've done in drive turnover rate, only 3.7% of his drives ending in turnovers while being really efficient overall. Shout out Bennett Sturts with the crazy numbers. And I think it's a good indicator for his handling prowess and also, of course, the passing feel, the ability to get out of trouble and to make his teammates better with the ball. I think Peterson is probably a more prolific interior passer than kickout passer. At this point, we've seen some of the missed kickouts earlier, right? But Peterson can just get deep paint. Again, we see the jump pass, reads this defender tagging in the middle, and then he's just going to kick it to the corner. Not the most accurate pass, right? But he's able to create an advantage and then kick out for a wide open three. So Peterson's playmaking is really phenomenal, even if he's not a perfect playmaker by any means. He will try risky passes, and as I talked about a gazillion times in this channel, passers who take risks like Peterson, trying to fit this ball over the top of this defender, but he just can't get enough lift on it, and the defender makes a good play. Like, you're going to turn the ball over at times when you play the way Peterson does. Again, this is like a 50-50 ball and a beautiful delivery. Peterson wrapping it around the hedge, and his big man has a chance to catch this. But that's a 50-50 ball and a good play by the tagger as well. Getting right there. And there were times when they blitzed the pick and roll that Peterson just wouldn't make a good play. Like, this dynamic prep team had the most impressive defensive game plan I've ever seen a team execute against Peterson. They were constantly putting two on the ball, shading really aggressively, and you can see them kind of fooling Peterson, right? He's trying to manipulate this defender to cover this player so he can zip it to his big man like we saw earlier. But he's not, a long athletic defender right here, and there's two defenders converging. So Peterson, as this high usage helio creator, there are issues that always come with that. But I don't think any of these are like crazy, scary, long-term issues, especially considering his incredible pull-up shooting, where Peterson's efficiency isn't the greatest, but that's the case for pretty much every young high school player. Again, notice Peterson getting cut off right here, but he's able to keep his dribble. There's so many plays like that where Peterson will get cut off on drives, but instead of turning the ball over or putting up a bad shot, he'll just back out with this incredible handle. He's going to end up holding the ball right here, gets the ball back towards the end of the possession, and Peterson has such a good bailout fadeaway mid-range jumper over a great contest. Like, he has that special shot-making gene, even if his shot quality definitely makes it harder for him to consistently be efficient at the high school level. But as I've talked about so many times, it's so rare for even guys who develop into elite shooters at the next level to be efficient pull-up shot makers in high school. So the numbers aren't really concerning, but Peterson can walk into these four mental pull-up threes, and this was a game winner against Utah Prep right here. And we can see him handling to the corner against JJ Mandequip. Pump fake to throw him off, and then wide open three. That's just a beautiful play right there, and he was not happy with his teammates. Darryn has some movement shooting as well. Weirdly, for a right-handed shooter, he seems more comfortable going to his right, which is often the opposite, where he has to turn in midair, but he's able to turn and square himself and finish because of his great movement skills and balance and flexibility. We see another similar play where he flares to the corner. I don't think he's as comfortable moving to his left as a shooter, where we can see right here where normally this is the sweet spot for righty shooters because their elbow is already aligned to the rim. They don't have to twist it around like they would with the other elbow. But Peterson, I don't think is always comfortable shooting this way. He's definitely more of an on-ball shooter, but yeah, some of these pull-up shots that he can make are absolutely crazy. His range, handle, and ability to rise up and hit shots over defenders because of his great vertical pop is really impressive. And the way that he toys with drop defense is so awesome. This is poor defense by Utah Prep right here. Darryn's simply just going to slither to his spot with his great handle, rise up, and it's almost like a mix of a floater and a pull-up the way that he shoots sometimes. You really have to be so diligent with your pick and roll coverage. Like, you can see why teams blitz against Peterson normally, because if you just do a soft switch right here, Peterson's going to pull from the NBA line, and you're going to give up 3 points, and that's just not a viable way to win against a player like Darryn Peterson, who has well beyond NBA range. So the shooting really helps just cap off a special offensive package. But what makes Peterson a generational guy to me is what he's done as a defensive player. He is one of the greatest guard defenders I've ever watched at this level. Starts with his crazy shot blocking, where Peterson weaponizes his great vertical pop off of 2 feet, and his instincts as a shot blocker are incredible. Look at him sliding over, getting up, and spiking that shot. He really does have the kind of feel and awareness that you see with all of these great guard defenders in the league, your Caruso, Derek White, Suggs, all these guys, where Peterson steps up, shows at the ball, but he's actually baiting this passer over the top. He gets a hand on a lob. You can see his 6'10-ish, 6'11-ish wingspan showing up right there, and this is a ridiculous block on AJ DeBanza. Just look how high up he gets. He loves to just like hop off 2 feet. He gets up basically to his hand above the rim and then swats DeBanza's shot right there. He's always lurking around the basket, and he can play like legit low man. Like, he's guarding the center on this possession right here. Peterson is the primary rim protector. He hops off 2 feet, explodes insanely fast to get off the floor and block that shot. I talked about load time as an important skill for shot blockers, and Peterson's got it right here. You see he loads up to block the shot, but very wisely recognizes the pump fake coming, doesn't jump here, waits a beat, and spikes that ball into the baseline right there. And Peterson's an awesome transition defender. Like, he'll do some crazy chase down blocks like this, where you have to be very careful against Peterson because of not only the speed and the explosiveness, but his ability to read the floor so quickly. Peterson knows exactly where this ball is going. He doesn't get fooled by this no-look pass at all. He's just going to simply drift towards the ball handler, block that shot with his weak left hand. Again, we can see the skill he has with both his left and his right hand popping up on the defensive end. And again, we can see just his impact that doesn't always show up on the box score, right? Where Peterson gets a rebound here, but again, he's kind of guarding 2v1 against screens right here. His teammate gets beat, so Darryn's going to show and then recover back to his man. But because he's so long, there's no passing window. Darryn's going to show again, rotate back to his original man, and then contest into a miss. He's such an impressive team defender at this stage, who pretty rarely is making bad mistakes. And even when he does get kind of out of position or play over aggressive right here, he's behind the ball handler. This is the fact that this is going to be a Darryn Peterson block and a catch block at that point. Oh my goodness. He snares the ball out of the air, catches it, and then goes the other way. Just truly absurd shot blocking ability for a guard. He's a great rear view contester. He blocks a ton of jumpers where he's able to stunt and contest and get right there, but he's not a perfect defender by any means at the rim, and he still is a guard, right? Bigger players like Koa Pete can definitely shoot over him, draw fouls, and score at the basket, where Darryn's going to be a great secondary rim protector in the league, but, he's not a center, right? There are going to be bigger players who can shoot and score over him. He is at times vulnerable to strength, and when he can't win with his hands, he will lose to strong players backing down at him. You see Peterson tries to stab at the ball here. He gets it out, but he can't get the ball back, and from there, he's just in no position to guard the post. He ends up giving up a pretty easy bucket right there. Again, against Nate Immense in this game, he's going to be guarding the post, and that's pretty solid defense right there, but Peterson ends up fouling just because he brings his hand down when he shouldn't. So there's technical stuff to clean up for sure as an on-ball defender. Again, we see Peterson kind of getting worked on in the post. He jumps at a pump fake when he shouldn't, and he ends up getting beat there. But Peterson is a better on-ball defender than not, and his ability to recover and make multiple contests is really, really impressive at this level. We see Peterson beginning the play, guarding the ball. He's going to cut this defender off. He immediately reacts to this drive, closes out, gets back to his original man, closes out, and then recovers to get a contest in the vicinity of that difficult pull-up mid-range jumper. And Peterson just had godly steal numbers in EYB. I think he had 3 steals a game or something like that. He would come out of absolute nowhere And when you have speed and instincts and awareness like Peterson, you can make crazy plays like this where he's absolutely flying like a heat-seeking missile to create turnovers. And the way that he can manipulate ball handlers by basically like hiding right here. He's hiding in Elijah Arenas' blind spot. Elijah just probably doesn't see him because Darryn is sitting behind his teammate, but Darryn is baiting this. He gets out to steal it with his left hand, and he's going the other way. It's very difficult to throw passes in Darryn Peterson's airspace because he's generally going to snatch these out of the air and create turnovers and go the other way for his teammates. The length, the instincts, the reaction time make him a dominant off-ball defender and really one of the most impactful team defenders I've ever watched this stage, regardless of position on the perimeter. And he has so much potential as an on-ball defender, even if he's not perfect at the moment. He's so good at being physical and chasing over screens. He forces a turnover or forces a really tough pass down low and is going to end up getting the rebound right here. Peterson here cuts off the baseline and forces a really tough shot. Because he's so quick laterally, he can beat this defender to his spot in the corner, force a really difficult shot that they're definitely going to be happy giving up a play like that. Here's Elijah Arenas trying to go at Darryn Peterson, who's just going to stonewall his drive to the left. His technique's not perfect, right? He's like hopping a little bit. He's late to step, his first step over to Arenas, but his crazy strength and recovery and length means that even a very good creator like Arenas can't get over him. He's an excellent screen defender too. This is a tough position for most players to guard this flare screen. But look at Peterson like bend and run at a weird angle. His ability to kind of change directions like a gyroscope, like a hoverboard, honestly. It's close to a men in the way that he moves and can keep top speed while moving in weird directions, not going forward. And that makes him really hard to compare to. He kind of reminds me of Donovan Mitchell in some ways, like movement-wise. He's obviously taller and I think better, but Mitchell had the same kind of crazy touch and he wasn't nearly as explosive. But Mitchell did improve as a finisher in the league. He got better at jumping and got more explosive, but Peterson was also so good at splitting pick and rolls, hanging and finishing in the air off of 2 feet, something we saw Peterson do a ton. Another great split and then just the easy wide open finish in the paint right there. Oh, beautiful spin move. Peterson's not as much of a spin aficionado as Donovan Mitchell, but the same ability to just slither through tight spaces. And Mitchell, while shorter and has some differences to Peterson, is one of the better comps I've seen in just movement style and diversity of their skill set, where the same kind of crazy blend of being slithery and but also sudden. But Peterson's like 4 inches taller than Donovan Mitchell. Obviously, Mitchell has the crazy wingspan, but Mitchell had some basic passing chops as well. But the defensive thing is hard. Like, how blasphemous is it to bring up the name Kobe Bryant, who some have compared to Peterson, and normally I'm always anti-comping to these legends, but for Peterson, we might have to make an exception, as high school Kobe Bryant blocked a ton of jump shots, just like we saw Peterson did. They're eerily similar in terms of measurements, both around 6'5", barefoot, around 6'11", wingspan. Some small differences, but what a chase down block by young Kobe right there. He was legit a primary rim protector in high school, just like Peterson. We saw that play earlier. Kobe, like Peterson was, guarding the center right here. He has no runway to get this block. He loads up and blocks the shot like a center would, pretty much. This is what Kobe did on defense in high school, and it's a hallmark of the elite guards. And obviously, Kobe's defensive reputation probably carried him later in his career, but he was a legitimately all-time special guard/wing defender earlier in his career. Just he obviously had the same like crazy handle and touch and ability to hang in the air, but yeah, man, this is the kind of era we're in with Darryn Peterson. He really is one of the best high school players I've ever watched. I think the only pre-NBA guard I've ever watched who I definitely feel is better than Darryn Peterson is Luka Doncic when he was playing at Real Madrid. And that's extremely high praise, and I mean every bit of it with Darryn. Right? Like, he has been the best player in high school basketball since his final AAU season started, and I expect him to be the number 1 pick next year. I expect him to dominate at Kansas on both ends of the floor, and as good as AJ DeBansa and Cameron Boozer are, I'm starting to think Peterson might just be a tick above with how unbelievable he is of a shot maker and a playmaker, his crazy advantage creation, and the special defense, where both DeBansa and Boozer lean more offensively slanted. Peterson is special on both ends of the floor while also having primary initiator upside. So Let me know what you think of Peterson, if you have any comparisons you like, and how excited you are to watch him next year, because I know I'm very excited. But like, comment, subscribe again. Would really appreciate all the support, and have a great day.